The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
This story has never been published, has never been told, has never been heard. And it was because my nephew, Yuda Dan, came to visit me this week, and from Lakewood, New Jersey, with a schlep, and him and his brother Moshe. It was very, very nice. And he says, I have this story for you that Taka was amazing. The story happened with a friend of his, and his name is, I hope he doesn't mind, I asked him, please ask your friend if he minds using his name, because it's a beautiful thing. The friend did a beautiful thing, I don't see why not. The friend's name was Kozlowitz, I don't know his first name, and he was in real estate, and if you remember, the past, I think 2-3 weeks ago, was a big real estate convention in Florida. Anyone and everyone mortgages real estate or was there. No, it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was expensive to get in, very expensive to get in. I think it's like, unless you sponsor, it's like $15,000 or something like that. But it was important to be there, everyone was there. Anyway, this fellow, younger man from Lakewood, went into real estate, and he went to the, he was supposed to fly like a 7:30 flight, or earlier, 5:30 flight, but his friend called him and told him, I'm getting engaged tonight, so I would love to have you at L'chaim. He says, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me try. He changed his ticket to be by his L'chaim. He changed it to a 7:30 flight from LaGuardia, but it landed in Fort Lauderdale instead of Miami. The convention was in Miami. But for a friend, don't you do? So he comes to Chaim. He says, I'm so happy I could be here a little bit. I got to run soon. It's still, but then he looks at his notifications. The plane is delayed till 11:35. As we all know how things goes. He says, great. I could spend some time here, and whatever. Then I'll go. He went to the airport, and it was a little delayed more. By the time they landed, it was almost 2 o'clock, and he had a rental car that was waiting for him, but the rental car company was closed. So he figured, okay, I'll take an Uber. I'll get from another office. I'll figure it out. So he took an Uber to the convention. To the hotel. And by the time the next day came around, he says, you know what? I'm here for 2 days. Even though the second day, I have to visit my grandmother, and I believe it was up in Boca, and one at Deer Park, one of those places. It was far, but I'll take an Uber. It's not worth running around to an office and finding a car or whatever. So the second day, the convention ended, and he went to visit his grandmother. So he called an Uber, and it was far. And the Uber was $100 to get up there. And he's in the Uber, and it was like an older man. Turned out the fellow was 80 years old. He was driving. And he starts asking him, sometimes you get Uber drivers that are talkative, sometimes that are quiet, This guy seemed like the talkative one. He says, I see he says, let me ask you a question. Did you daven this morning? He says, yes. He said, did you put out tefillin? Of course, obviously. He said, the guy wasn't wearing yarmulke or anything like that. He said, did you learn Daf Yomi? He says, yeah, actually I did. Okay. Where's it going? And Chumash? Yeah. He said, okay, so tell me, you don't look like somebody who knows all about these things. What about yourself? So he tells him his whole story. He says, he has a difficult life. He was divorced, and he business closed down, and then nobody wanted to hire him. So he has to be an Uber driver. He's barely making ends meet. But he davens in shul. He goes to Chabad, he puts on tefillin before he starts, and he learns Tanya once a week, and he learns Chumash once a week also. He says, wow, who do you learn the Chumash with? He says, I learned Chumash with a partner of Torah. And he says, he says, what's your Chavrus's name? You wouldn't know him, he's from New Jersey. He says, I'm from New Jersey too. So he says, yeah, but New Jersey's very big. You're not gonna know him. So he says, I'll tell you his name. I don't remember the name. I asked for Avi Bloom or something like that. So Kaz was in the back seat of the car. He goes, okay, yeah, I can imagine who that is. He dials. He finds his number. He dials. He puts it on speaker. and he says, Avi, I have a guy, what's your name? Edward Markowitz here. He tells me he learns with you. You're the right guy? He goes, Edward Markowitz, you're in his car? How did that happen? Like, you usually rent cars here. He says, oh, I can't. The guy was almost went up to Roy. He's your friend, Yeah, well, we know each other. So he takes him to speak. He's telling him, he said, take me to speak. I want to talk about him. So he takes him to speak. He said, I want you to know this guy who you're driving with. He's a tzaddik. He actually is Meiser Nefesh for Shabbos. He's not religious yet, but I told him he's got to do Shabbos. And he says, I want to, but I can't afford it. He says, all right, how much do you make after everything? How much do you make from Shabbos? Like, take all your gas costs, whatever you give Uber and whatever. He says, he made a cheshbon. He says it was $80. He says, $80, I'm in. I quick pay him $80 every week for Shabbos, and he does it. That's all. He hung up the phone. He said, okay, good. Well, it's what a coincidence. Beautiful. Hung up the phone. When he heard this, he said to him, Edward, listen, I have to go to the airport after I visit my grandma, 2 hours. I figured maybe turn off the thing. I'll pay you private. You don't have to share it with the thing. He said, all right, but you don't understand how long you're staying 2 hours. It means I have to wait 2 hours. And he says, I would love to do it, but I'll tell you the honest, it'll be much cheaper for you. Just call an Uber afterwards. And he says, no. I love going with you. I want to go with you. It's hard to get. I know that you're outside and you're waiting. Big deal. Give me a price. Let's go. So he says, you have cash to give me, whatever? He says, yeah, I got enough cash. He said, $250. He says, okay, you know what? You got it. He figured it. Okay, a little more. You got it. Wait for me. So he goes to visit his grandmother, 2 hours. He comes back out. And he says, and by the way, even beforehand, he gave him $350, $100 tip. So the guy says, I can't believe this. I can't believe this is happening to me. You don't understand. Just this week, and he didn't know the conversation he had with Avi. He says, just this week I told him, Avi sends me money because he doesn't want me to work on Shabbos, and I'm struggling terribly, and I'm so behind in bills, you have no idea. Mortgage and everything. He says, just this week I told him, listen, I got to work a double shift on Saturday. It's not going to, I can't do it with $80. It's not working. I can't make it. And I don't know what to tell you. So he says, my community says, don't worry. Shabbos is a bracha. Watch, you'll see this week you're going to get a fare that is so crazy, it's going to cover all your extra, whatever you would have made for Shabbos. You'll see. And here you are, giving me $350 cash. You know how long I have to work to get that from over? It takes half, I don't know, whatever they take. This is beyond what I could ever make, if I work 24/7 Shabbos, So he says, I can't believe it. Anyway, the story goes on, actually. It gets even more crazy that as they're talking to him where he lives, it turns out, but I'll say it because it turns out that how Shabbos saves you. It turns out that he told him the street live. He asked him, do you live in number 8? He says, yeah, number 8. Did the bank foreclose it? He goes, how do you know that? He says, because I just bought your house. We're going to try to arrange it. We're going to work on it. Don't worry. I'm here. I'm not, So, that's a beautiful thing with this guy, because if you pay money, I don't know if I would do that. That means you have to start, that's your whole investment. That means, whatever. But it's a tzidkis on this Kazva's part. Amazing.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org